The only reason I found out my fiancée was cheating was because she forgot to block George. Mary told me she was going to a spa, one of those full-day bridal detox events where phones are locked in lockers and bridesmaids chant affirmations around scented candles. I didn't question it. I kissed her forehead, helped her zip up her beige coat, and even paid for the damn thing. At 7:12 p.m., George sent me a video. "You might want to see this," was all he wrote. It was a casual story reposted by someone in Mary's circle, not public, not viral, just close friends, until George saw it. The video started with a champagne bottle being popped, then came a scream. To Mary, the real bride. Girls in satin robes lifted their glasses, the camera panned, and there she was. Mary, my Mary. Sitting on a man's lap I'd never seen before, whispering in his ear as he unwrapped a gold bracelet and clasped it onto her wrist. I couldn't breathe. Another clip. Same night. She's wearing white. She's being handed a small cake that says "Marry Evan forever." Who the hell was Evan? The man beside her kissed her cheek. Everyone cheered. I didn't throw my phone, I didn't cry, I saved the videos, downloaded every clip George could dig up, and then I made a decision. Tomorrow was her real wedding shower. The one I was invited to, the one I was paying for. I wore black, brought a hard drive in a gift bag, wrapped it in white tissue paper. When I arrived, everyone smiled at me like I was the luckiest man alive. Mary's mother hugged me, her cousins gushed over our perfect chemistry. I plugged the hard drive into the event hall projector while everyone gathered to watch Mary's surprise video montage. Only, this time, the surprise was mine. The screen flickered, laughter echoed in the hall, and then, clip 1, champagne, satin robes, laughter, then, Mary sitting on Evan's lap, then, to the real bride, Tinkadit. Hen. Cake that didn't have my name on it. The hall went still. I stood in the back, silent, watching Mary's face twist into panic. She tried to run to the projector, but the footage kept playing. Her voice slurred from the champagne, her laughter too loud, her loyalty too cheap. Her bridesmaids froze, her mother turned pale, a woman in the crowd whispered, "Isn't she engaged to David?" I cleared my throat. She was. Mary turned to me, her face white. "David, wait, I can explain." I raised a finger. "Don't, I paid for this room, this cake, and this projector. You gave me a night off, I decided to spend it here, with the truth." She stepped toward me, I stepped back. "Evan, huh?" I said. "Hope he paid for that bracelet, I'm canceling the card." Mary's voice cracked. "It wasn't what it looked like." "Oh," I said calmly, "then you won't mind if I send the video to your father." I walked out before she could speak. Behind me, the screen replayed her betrayal on loop. Only this time, it wasn't just me watching. Before the videos, before the hard drive, before the name Evan ever crossed my life, I was just a man trying to build a future with someone I thought I understood. My name is David. I'm 31 years old. I run a small-scale architecture studio downtown, one of those operations built from caffeine, sleepless nights, and one good client who took a chance on me. I believe in concrete over charm, steel beams over social games. Blueprints make sense. People don't. Mary was the exception. Or at least, I thought she was. We met 4 years ago at a property expo. She was working PR for a luxury interiors brand. Our booths were across the aisle. I caught her staring at my model of a floating staircase. She called it impractical. I called her heels ridiculous. She laughed. That's what got me. Not just the way she laughed, but how easily she did it, with a kind of unbothered confidence I wasn't used to. I'd always been careful with words. Mary wasn't. She wore charm like a fragrance, subtle but lingering. The next day, she brought me coffee. The day after that, she brought me her number. It didn't take long before we were seeing each other every weekend. She moved into my apartment within 8 months, said it was temporary, that her roommate was moving in with a boyfriend, said she didn't like her side of town, said my couch was more comfortable. I believed all of it. Mary wasn't easy to read, but I never thought she was dishonest. She didn't fake tears or stage affection. What she did was subtler. She made you feel lucky, like being in her orbit was a privilege, like any kindness you gave her was a lottery win for you, not a courtesy from her. I learned to cook because she hated takeout, learned to fold laundry the way she liked, rearranged my shelves, my shoes, my weekends, until the whole layout of my life formed around her preferences. People asked why we weren't married yet. The truth was, I'd proposed twice. The first time was after her mother had a health scare. I took her to the hospital, sat outside the room while she cried beside the bed. When we got home, I offered her a ring, modest, clean design, platinum band. She looked at it for a long time before saying, "It's beautiful, but not yet." The second time was on her birthday. A private dinner. Custom dessert, string quartet. She smiled, said yes, and kissed me, but she never wore the ring in public. I didn't press her. Everyone moves at their own pace. Maybe I was too forgiving. Maybe I wanted her love to be enough for both of us. Then came the wedding talk. She told me she wanted something low-key, intimate, no pressure. "I don't want to be someone's trophy in a white dress," she'd say. "I want to feel like myself on that day. I want it to be about us, not a show." I said yes. I said yes to everything. Mary didn't like planning, so I took over most of it. I booked the venue, I picked the photographer, I handled the guest list, trimmed it down to only people close to both of us. Every decision passed through her filter, but I did the heavy lifting. George helped too. He's been my best friend since college. If I'm steel, George is fire. He burns quick, speaks fast, and hates dishonesty more than anything. He never liked Mary, said she was cold, said she looked through people, not at them. But he shut up when I told him I loved her. Sarah entered the picture 2 years ago. She was Mary's college friend, maybe more like an ex-rival turned occasional companion. Sarah was quieter, more observant, the kind of woman who doesn't flood a room with her presence, but you always notice when she leaves. She came to our house one evening when Mary forgot her passport before a girl's trip. I poured her tea while Mary ran upstairs. Sarah looked around the apartment and said, "It's very, not me out, airy." I laughed. I built most of it before she moved in. She didn't change anything? Only the things that matter, I said, not sure if I was joking. Sarah tilted her head. "And you're okay with that?" I never answered. Weeks before the wedding shower, Mary started acting distant, not cold, just disinterested. Calls went unanswered, plans got cancelled. She said work was piling up, she was overwhelmed, she needed a little breathing space. I gave it to her. The day she said she was going to the spa, she kissed me goodbye like she always did. A soft peck on the cheek, her hands on my collar, her voice saying, "Don't wait up." I didn't. I stayed home that night, sketching the elevation of a client's vacation house, thinking about the best way to hide ductwork in the ceiling, thinking about our honeymoon in Lisbon. I ordered her favorite Thai dish so it would be in the fridge when she got home. I didn't know that by midnight, everything would be different. When George sent the footage, I played it 3 times. First to deny, second to understand, third to remember. I memorized every frame, every lie, every laugh, every champagne glass that clinked in celebration of a betrayal I never saw coming. I didn't sleep that night. I opened the closet, removed the suit I planned to wear to our reception, and ironed it slowly, pressing every crease with mechanical focus. Then I pulled out an old gift bag from the shelf, the one I was going to use to give her a custom necklace I had ordered. I took out the necklace, slipped in the flash drive instead. She called it a spa night. So I brought the real videos to her wedding shower. Let the footage speak louder than the vows that never came. Let her see herself through the eyes of everyone she lied to, and let me walk away as the man who knew her better in silence than I ever did in love. The betrayal didn't begin with the video. The betrayal began when Mary stopped meeting my eyes. We were sitting at dinner 2 weeks before the wedding shower. A simple meal, grilled salmon, garlic rice, a bottle of white wine. I noticed she was scrolling her phone more than usual, not reading, scrolling, her thumb hovering, eyes darting. She wasn't checking messages, she was waiting for something. "Everything all right?" I asked. She looked up, startled, smiled quickly. "Just work, the new launch is hell." I nodded. "You've been on edge lately." She raised a brow. "Because I'm planning a wedding, David, it's normal." I didn't say more, but the silence between us started to stretch wider after that. That night, she went to sleep early. I stayed up. My phone buzzed at midnight. A text from Sarah. "Tell her congrats, she looked really happy in the story." I stared at the message. Typed, "What story?" Sarah didn't reply. Next morning, Mary kissed my forehead like nothing happened, told me she'd be out for the evening with her girls. She said it like she was repeating a script, her voice light, her eyes flat. Later that day, George showed up at my studio. He looked pissed, tossed his phone on my desk. "You seeing this?" I clicked play. The first video was grainy, low light, music pulsing, laughter. The camera focused on Mary standing in the center of a large living room decorated with golden streamers and a massive white balloon arch spelling M+E. "Who's E?" I asked. George folded his arms. "Keep watching." In the next clip, a man appeared behind Mary, slipping his arms around her waist. She leaned back into him like it was instinct. The camera turned toward the girls filming. One whispered, "They're going to make such a power couple." Another replied, "She finally picked the right guy." George paused the clip. I stared at the screen. "You know what this looks like, right?" And George said. I didn't answer. I was still staring at the way Mary's hands rested on the man's forearm, like it wasn't the first time, like this wasn't new. "Who's Evan?" I asked. George shrugged. "Don't know, but they're calling it her real wedding shower." I rubbed my jaw. My throat burned, but not from anger, from humiliation. "You think it's cheating?" I asked quietly. George laughed bitterly. "She's planning another wedding, David. What would you call it?" I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a joke, maybe the video was old, maybe I missed something, but the date on the footage was from the previous night. I said nothing, just downloaded every clip, every photo, saved them, organized them by timestamp, compressed them into a single folder. Then I sat in silence, for 2 hours, staring at the computer screen. When Mary came home that night, she smelled like perfume I didn't recognize. She walked straight to the bedroom and said she was exhausted. I didn't follow, I didn't ask. She didn't offer. The next morning, I cooked her breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, sliced fruit. I placed the plate in front of her, and she smiled like nothing was breaking beneath us. "I'm thinking of changing the bridal gown," she said. "The new one has a longer train, more elegant." I nodded. "You should wear whatever you love." "Don't you want to see it?" she asked. I stirred my coffee. "I think you've already shown it to the right person." She blinked, confused, but only for a second. Then she stood and walked out of the kitchen. I waited until she was gone, then I called the event manager, confirmed the slideshow setup, confirmed the projector, confirmed that the hard drive would override the standard presentation. Then I called Sarah. "Did you know?" I asked. Sarah didn't pretend to misunderstand. Her voice was soft. "I saw the stories, David. I thought it was weird. I asked her about it." "What did she say?" "That it was just a joke, a theme party, something for the girls." "And Evan?" Sarah hesitated. "I don't know who he is, but he's been around. She says they're just friends." "Friends don't touch each other like that." "No," Sarah agreed. "They don't." I wanted to ask Sarah why she hadn't told me sooner, why she'd waited. But deep down, I already knew. Because I had waited too. I'd seen the signs for months, the distance, the avoidance, the way Mary looked at her phone like it mattered more than I did. But I didn't want to believe it. Because if I admitted it, I'd have to admit that I spent 4 years loving a woman who saw me as a placeholder. That I was building a life for someone who already had one foot out the door. The day before the wedding shower, Mary asked if I could pick up a custom perfume she ordered from a boutique across town. I drove there. Paid for it. The salesgirl smiled and said, "Oh, is this for the bride?" I said yes. When I got home, I left the perfume on the kitchen counter. She didn't thank me. That night, she slept early again. I stayed in the living room, watching the same video loop on my screen. Not to study it, not to torture myself, but to remember, to let the betrayal sink in slowly so that I wouldn't flinch when the truth exploded in public, to make sure my silence was heavier than her excuses. I texted the event manager one final time. "Play the file labeled truth. Password is Evan." Then I deleted the backup from my phone. But I kept a copy on my keychain USB. It wasn't about revenge, it was about accuracy. Mary said she wanted an honest relationship, so I gave her the most honest presentation of her life. The wedding shower was scheduled for noon. I arrived early, greeted her cousins, hugged her aunt, posed for pictures I had no intention of saving. Mary was radiant. I won't lie, she wore a champagne-colored dress with pearl sleeves, her hair pinned into soft curls. She looked like someone worth worshipping, but I'd already seen who she was when no one was watching, and I wasn't blind anymore. She leaned over during the toast and whispered, "Did you bring the video, the childhood one with my dance recital?" I smiled. "I brought something better." She laughed. "You're always full of surprises." The hall lights dimmed, guests gathered around the screen. Mary squeezed my hand. Then the first clip played, and her grip turned into a tremble. I didn't walk out of that room because I was strong. I walked out because if I stayed a second longer, I would have shattered. The silence that followed the final clip was loud, louder than any applause, louder than any fight, and Mary's face, frozen in the light of the projector, half lit and pale, was the last thing I saw before the doors closed behind me. But it wasn't closure, it was just the beginning of the unraveling. I don't know how I drove home. I don't remember turning the key in the ignition or which streets I took. All I know is I ended up back in our apartment, alone. I walked into the kitchen, saw the untouched Thai food I'd saved for her 2 nights ago, still sealed in the fridge. I threw it out. I stood in the center of the living room, staring at the space where our wedding invitations had been. She'd left them there on purpose, said she liked seeing them every day. "Makes it feel real," she told me. It was never real. The first wave of emotion wasn't anger, it was grief. Not for her, not even for the relationship, for the version of me that believed. I missed the man who thought love was enough, the one who planned a future and thought loyalty was something you could earn by giving it first. I missed the idiot who bought matching mugs and learned how to say, "I love you," in Portuguese because Mary once said she liked the way it sounded. I missed being blind. I walked into the bedroom and stared at the bed. Her side was still neatly made. Mary had this habit of arranging the pillows before she left the house, even if she knew she'd toss them all onto the floor by midnight. I pulled the pillows down one by one, sat on the edge of the bed, and then I did something I hadn't done in years. I cried. Not like a scene from a movie, no dramatic music, no screaming into a pillow. Just quiet, heaving sobs that started in my chest and wouldn't stop. I didn't even realize I was gripping the bedsheet until my knuckles went white. I didn't want her back, that wasn't it. I just didn't know what to do with all this leftover love. Where does it go when the person you gave it to treats it like a joke? What happens to the version of you that was built entirely around their happiness? Is there a switch you flip, a cord you cut? Or do you just live in limbo, haunted by memories that feel like betrayal now? I remembered the first time I kissed her. It was raining. We'd been walking back from a film screening. She stopped under a red awning, laughing about the plot twist. I told her I wasn't brave enough to kiss her in public. She said, "Then don't think, just do it." And I did. I remember how she tasted like wine and rainwater. How her hands found the collar of my jacket. How I thought, this is the start of everything. I wanted to forget that moment now, but some things won't be erased. They live in your spine, in the way you hesitate before touching someone else. I stayed in bed for hours, not sleeping, just laying there, paralyzed by 1,000 invisible strings, each one tied to a memory, a plan, a dream that no longer made sense. The next morning, I woke up to missed calls, 2 from George, 1 from an unknown number, and 1 from Mary. I didn't answer. I opened my phone, checked social media. The video had already circulated beyond the guest list. Someone had recorded the footage on their phone. Someone had posted it with a caption. "Imagine finding out your fiancé has a whole other wedding planned during your wedding shower." The comments were brutal. Half of them called Mary a manipulator. The other half said I should have known. A few called the entire video fake. None of them knew me, none of them knew her, but I kept reading anyway, like pain was oxygen. By noon, there was a knock at my door. I didn't move. Another knock, louder this time, then George's voice. "David, open up." I walked to the door slowly, unlocked it, let him in. He didn't speak at first, just looked at me, saw the circles under my eyes, the creased shirt I hadn't changed since yesterday. Then he pulled me into a hug. I didn't expect that. You didn't deserve that, he said quietly. None of it. I nodded, but didn't answer. We sat in silence for a while. He made coffee, turned on the fan, said I should get out of the house. Where would I go? I asked. Anywhere that doesn't smell like her perfume. I half smiled. You always know what to say. He sipped his coffee. I've had practice. That night, Sarah texted me. I didn't know it would go that far, I replied. It needed to. She didn't respond. Mary called again, then again, and again. Finally, she left a voicemail, her voice trembling, like someone who didn't understand the consequences of their own choices. David, please, I made a mistake. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you, but I also didn't want to admit that I was confused. Evan doesn't matter. It wasn't serious. I just needed to feel like I had control, but I see now. I see what I destroyed. Please call me, please. I deleted the message. It wasn't rage that made me do it. It was peace. She didn't deserve the version of me that used to listen, and I didn't need to explain anything anymore. The pain wasn't gone, not even close. But I was done making room for her in it. That night, I showered, changed the sheets, opened the window. Then I opened my laptop, looked at the email I'd been ignoring for weeks. It was from a firm in Berlin. They wanted to collaborate, long-term, said they admired my work, said I had vision. I hadn't responded because I thought I was staying here, starting a life with Mary. But now, I clicked reply, typed, available for relocation. It's schedule a call. Then I sat back. The air smelled different, like something had been lifted. It wasn't closure, it was survival. And maybe that's what healing starts with, not forgetting the person who broke you, but finally remembering the person you were before they did. I didn't expect to see Sarah at the airport. Berlin was only 3 days away. The firm had sent over contracts, lined up housing, even offered to cover relocation costs. I hadn't told anyone I was leaving, not George, not Sarah, not even my landlord. I just wanted to vanish without the courtesy of a goodbye. But there she was, sitting by the coffee kiosk near my gate, dressed in beige slacks and a turtleneck, her hair pulled back like she was trying to look composed, but hadn't slept in days. I froze. For a moment, I thought maybe she'd just been passing through. But then she turned, looked directly at me. I was hoping I didn't miss you, she said. I adjusted the strap on my backpack. I didn't tell anyone I was flying today. She gave a half smile. George told me. Of course. I'm not here to stop you, Sarah said quickly. I need to say something, before you go. I looked at the clock. Boarding hadn't started yet. I nodded toward a nearby bench. Talk. We sat. A pause stretched between us. You were right about Mary, Sarah said finally. What she did, what she's been doing, it wasn't a one-time thing. I tilted my head. You knew? I suspected. I saw Evan twice, but I didn't connect the dots until it was too late. And by then, you already had the footage. I waited. There was something behind her voice, something that didn't match the guilt in her words. She wasn't just planning a wedding behind your back, Sarah said. She was planning to marry both of you. I blinked. What? She told her parents she wanted a public ceremony with Evan, to please his family, but that she was staying legally married to you. I stared at her, trying to process it. How does that even work? She lied to both of you, different cities, different circles. She thought she could have the show with Evan and the legal benefits with you. My throat tightened. Why would she need to, stay married to me? Sarah hesitated, then she handed me her phone. You need to read this. It was an email thread between Mary and someone named Melissa Grant, legal consultant. David has no idea I listed him as my partner on the German citizenship application. We're not technically married, but I'm filing under the domestic partner clause. If he leaves or finds out, I lose the fast-track status. Another message. Can you fake a cohabitation lease if needed, just in case immigration does a check? Another. I don't care what he thinks, just keep the paperwork airtight until I'm approved. Evan's family is handling the Vienna side. I just need David's name to stay on record until December. I stared at the screen. My name, my life, reduced to a box on a form. Sarah spoke softly. She wasn't just lying to your heart, she was using your signature. I handed the phone back. How did you get this? I overheard her on a call a few days ago, then I checked her laptop. I know it was wrong, but I had to be sure. I nodded slowly. My mouth was dry, my head pulsed. You're not even the backup groom, Sarah said. You're the legal loophole. I stood up. I need a minute. She followed. David, what are you going to do? I didn't answer. I walked to the terminal window and stared at the plane outside. All this time, I thought leaving was the ending, the clean break, the healing arc, but Mary had turned me into a document, a strategy. She wasn't heartbroken, she was cornered. That voicemail wasn't regret, it was panic. Because she wasn't losing love, she was losing leverage. And suddenly, something inside me turned cold. She filed using my name? I asked. Sarah nodded. Without your consent. Can you get me that email thread? I already forwarded it to myself, she said. I can send it to you. Do it. She did, right there, sitting beside me at gate 27. Then she looked at me carefully. David, I know what you're thinking, but don't become like her. I looked back. I'm not planning revenge. Then what are you planning? I zipped my bag. Truth. She walked me to the security line. Just before I stepped in, she touched my arm. She's going to call you again, Sarah said. But this time, she won't be begging for love, she'll be begging for paperwork. Let her beg, I said. I've got better things to do. When I landed in Berlin the next day, I had a lawyer waiting. George had a contact. Within 2 hours, we filed a formal report of identity misuse under the partner registration clause. Mary's application was suspended. Her legal track to Germany, terminated. She called me 2 days later. I let it ring. Then she messaged. You don't understand what you've done. I needed this. You ruined everything. I replied with a single line. No. I just finally stopped playing your fool. She never responded. But the silence felt cleaner this time. It happened 3 weeks after the suspension notice. I was settling into my new studio space in Berlin, a refurbished warehouse with skylights so wide they filled the entire office with natural light by noon. The days were calm, focused. I started smiling in my sleep, according to my assistant. But peace is fragile when unfinished stories chase you across borders. On a rainy Friday afternoon, my receptionist buzzed me. There's a woman here asking for you, she said. No appointment, no ID, just asking. I knew before I asked. Her name? She said it's Mary. I should have said no, I should have sent her away. Instead, I stood. Let her in. When she walked into the room, everything looked the same, but felt different. Her dress was the same brand she used to flaunt. Her perfume still clung to the air like a memory that refused to die. But her eyes, they were no longer daring, they were desperate. David, she whispered, I didn't think you'd actually let me in. I didn't ask her to sit, didn't offer her tea, just folded my arms and leaned against the table. Say what you came to say. She looked around the studio, tried to smile. This place, it's beautiful, you built it. I did. I followed the news, that architecture blog featured your staircase design last week, even Evan reposted it. I raised an eyebrow. Evan's still around? She flinched. Not really. He left. As soon as he found out my visa was denied, he changed his number. I said nothing. I didn't know you'd go that far, she said, voice shaking. Reporting me? You didn't think I'd fight back. She swallowed hard. I thought you still cared enough to protect me. I laughed, bitter and dry. You forged documents with my name to enter a country and marry someone else. That's not a relationship, that's organized fraud. She stepped forward. David, please, just let me explain. Yeah. You're not here to explain, I said. You're here to bargain. You think if you say the right things, I'll withdraw the complaint. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Stop pretending, Mary. This isn't love. This is you trying to clean up the mess you made with the last man who didn't roll over for you. Her face hardened. I was scared. You always think I'm this manipulative monster, but I did care. I just didn't know how to choose. You didn't have to choose, I said coldly. You could have been honest. But you lied, again and again. You made me plan a wedding while you planned another one with someone else. Her voice cracked. I didn't love Evan. You didn't love me either. Silence filled the space, thick, heavy. She sat down finally, uninvited. Her shoulders slumped. I lost everything. I didn't offer sympathy. I lost my job, my reputation, my parents won't talk to me, even my cousin said she couldn't look me in the eye. I shrugged. Actions have consequences. She blinked. How can you be so cold? Because I spent 4 years giving you everything, I said, voice steady. And when I ran out of things to give, you moved on to someone who didn't know the cost. I'm not proud of what I did, she said, but I never expected you to hate me this much. I don't hate you, I said simply. Hate would mean I still care. She inhaled sharply. That one hit her. I came here thinking maybe we could fix something, she whispered. Even just the paperwork. I'll walk away after, I swear. I walked to the window, rain streaking down the glass like the kind of tears I refused to shed anymore. You still don't get it, I said without turning around. You're not the villain in your story, are you? You think you're the misunderstood lead who just made a mistake. But you didn't just hurt me, you used me, legally, emotionally, publicly, and now you're here asking for what? A compromise. She stood. I didn't come here to beg. Yes, you did. I turned back to her. You begged when you lost control, not when you lost me. That's the difference. If Evan had stayed, you wouldn't be here. Tears welled in her eyes. You really think I'm that shallow? I stared at her. You tell me, Mary. Was I the plan, or the backup? She didn't answer. I took a slow breath. Do you want the truth? She looked at me, eyes rimmed red. You weren't the hardest thing I've been through, I said. You were the easiest thing to believe in. That's what made it so hard to walk away. Mary didn't move. She just stood there. You broke something in me, I said. And I'm still learning how to live without checking my phone every time it buzzes. Still learning how to stop wondering if I wasn't enough, or if you just didn't know what enough looked like. I stepped closer. But the truth is, I didn't lose you. I lost the illusion of you. And that loss? I'll survive it. Tears finally fell down her cheeks. But I didn't move to comfort her. I owed her nothing. I'm going to retract my name from the visa application, I said calmly. Officially. Completely. And I've asked my lawyer to issue a letter of revocation to the German authorities. Whatever plans you had, they're done, permanently. Mary nodded, silent. You should leave, I said. She looked around the studio once more. You really did build something beautiful. I always did, you just never looked long enough to see it. She walked to the door, her fingers brushed the handle, she paused. If I had chosen you sooner, would we have made it? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, if you had chosen me at all, you wouldn't have had to ask that. She opened the door, closed it behind her. And just like that, the final piece of our story collapsed. I stood alone in the studio, the sound of rain soft against the glass. But it didn't feel hollow anymore. It felt honest. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 6 months after Mary walked out of my studio, her name returned to me, not through a call or a message, but through headlines. Fraudulent marriage application scandal rocks corporate circles. Bridal influencer allegedly used falsified domestic partnership to secure EU residency. David K. Berlin architect, refuses mediation, I will not be used again. It was everywhere. Her name was no longer whispered behind wine glasses, it was typed, searched, quoted, and dragged. The news broke when an internal audit at the visa office uncovered her attempt to resubmit the application using a forged lease agreement, allegedly co-signed by me. She had tried to clone my old signature from a photo, something so dumb it bordered on desperate. And just like that, what she'd tried to cover in silence exploded in public. Evan released a statement first, cold, polished. I was unaware of the extent of Ms. M's personal entanglements. I have severed all contact with her. Her agency dropped her, her brand deals vanished. The same voice that used to narrate product reviews and spa vlogs now stayed silent. And me? I didn't say a word publicly. I didn't need to. Because this time, the world did it for me. George called me every other night, reading out headlines like bedtime stories. Bro, listen to this. Insider says Mary kept a David box hidden in her closet filled with receipts, notes, and passwords. Creepy, I muttered. Borderline illegal, he corrected. Sarah, too, messaged occasionally, more cautious than George. You okay? Yeah. You sure? I think I finally am. But I didn't fully realize how far I'd come until that spring, when Berlin thawed and sunlight returned. I was sitting on the roof of my studio, sketchpad in hand, drawing lines for a new museum project. For the first time in years, my hand didn't shake. The page didn't blur. My thoughts weren't crowded being what-ifs and old footage. Peace had texture again. A knock came behind me, light, polite. I turned. Sarah stood there holding 2 coffees. You always appear when I forget to eat, I said. It's a gift. She handed me one and sat beside me on the rooftop ledge. How's London? I asked. Loud, expensive, shallow. She smiled. I missed this. This? You, she said quietly. The air shifted. I didn't respond right away, not because I didn't know how, but because this time, I didn't want to say the wrong thing out of habit. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd picked better sooner? I asked. I don't blame you for picking wrong, she said. I blame you for not leaving sooner. I laughed. Fair. She sipped her coffee. You know she tried to contact me? I glanced over. Recently? 2 weeks ago, from a private number. I didn't answer. Good. She still thinks she's owed explanations. She always did. Sarah turned to me. Do you regret not destroying her sooner? I shook my head slowly. Revenge isn't about destruction, it's about clarity. She tilted her head. That's very architect of you. I looked at the skyline. I used to think closure was about confrontation, screaming, dramatic exits, making someone feel what they made you feel. But the truth is, closure is just living so fully that they become irrelevant. Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. I like this version of you, she said. I like that I didn't need her to become him. Silence settled over us. Not the uncomfortable kind, the kind that comes when everything's been said and nothing's been avoided. Later that week, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a ring. The one I gave Mary years ago, the one she never wore in public. No note, no apology, just the cold weight of irony. I didn't throw it out, I melted it. Took it to a custom shop near Alexanderplatz and asked the jeweler to reshape the metal into a single, thin pendant, no stones, no flourishes, just the material, reborn. I wore it under my shirt, not as a symbol of pain, but as a reminder that even the most manipulated elements can be repurposed. Even love, once used against you, can become armor. Even scars can become design. By summer, I had launched my own line, Fault Line, a series of modular homes inspired by breakage, asymmetry, and survival. The tagline, Strength where things cracked. The concept went viral. Not because I told the story, but because people saw it in the walls, in the light, in the way each design leaned into its flaws instead of hiding them. Clients came, investors followed. And then, quietly, one last name appeared in my inbox. Mary Q. Subject line, please. I stared at it for a full minute before deleting it unopened. Not out of rage, not even closure, just discipline. My story with her wasn't a chapter anymore. It was a footnote, a crack in the blueprint I'd already redesigned. And as for me, I was no longer the man who waited for anyone to come home. I was the man who built the home.